Here we are. We're live.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested in this. Oh, wait. Let's do this the right way. Hello and welcome to Does It Resonate with You? Um, we stream live on YouTube and also on a couple of Facebook pages. If you enjoy the show, or if you're just first coming, to see us and you enjoy the show, please reach down and hit that subscribe button and the little bell that tells you will be notified when the next episode is coming up, because we do a couple of things each week and then we do some extra stuff every now and then. So anyway, basically this is just a forum for us to figure out what means what to us. And we hope that you enjoy the ride, and we hope that you find something and hear something that resonates with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's funny because I said, John, do you have a topic you want to talk about this week that's fun? And you came back with karma. And I was like, no, I said fun. I said, because everything is irritating me this week. I've got, I backed out of a crystal group on Facebook because all they could talk about was fake moldavite. Citrine is heat treated amethyst, and every other post was a picture of somebody wanting to know if their crystals were fake or real.
Oh,
And I was
geez.
like, stop, I can't handle this anymore. So
Wow.
when you first said karma, I thought, and then I thought, no, there's some really interesting things to talk about here. So I'm curious, what drove you to the idea of the conversation?
I saw it mentioned in an article a couple weeks ago, and the article basically, I mean, I'll probably refer to it because it's pretty interesting. The article was, what is the popular culture understanding of karma, and what does it really mean? Going back to the Indian concept, and he said, here's what basically everyone thinks it is in the West. As you sow, so you reap. There it is. There's your karma. And he says it isn't really that at all. People think it's like, also people seem to think it's being punished directly for something that they did in this life or a previous life. Oh, there's your bad karma coming back to get you, right? And they people seem to think it's a punishment for doing something unkind or bad in a previous life or even in this life. So I thought, okay, if that is kind of the popular understanding of it, what does it really mean? So I kind of dug into the article and I was like, this is good for discussion.
So I'm reading here, and I just typed in, what is the Indian theory of karma? Karma is a concept of Hinduism which describes a system in which beneficial effects are derived from past beneficial actions and harmful effects are from past harmful actions, creating a system of actions and reactions throughout a soul's reincarnate throughout a soul's reincarnated lives, forming a cycle of rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So that physics, right? The laws of physics will prevail. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's interesting way to say it. One of the things I didn't realize is so this is what the article that I was reading said. The author basically said it's like karma is kind of a memory of a previous life or previous actions, and they influence you the same way that a bad habit does, right? If you have a bad habit of biting your nails, it's not because you really like biting your nails. It's because that's a habit and it's like you can't stop, right? So karma is kind of like that. He said it's also like a good habit. So if you have a good habit of getting to bed on time and that's just your habit, that's a good thing. And
right.
that's good energy or good karma going towards you. But here's the most interesting thing, and we'll come back to this, I'm sure, later on. How can you break the cycle? And the author says, well, there is this thing called dharma. And what dharma is it's being in your divine, it's participating in your divine purpose. If you are
Right.
not Right. If you're not doing that, if you're doing something other than what you're supposed to be doing on this planet, you're going to probably get poked by karma issues. But if you're in your groove, then the universe has your back and you're going the right direction.
Hmm. So I wonder, as you talk about a concept like that, how much that has to do with um, just the pure universal laws, law of attraction.
Yeah, I think it does. I
I
think it.
mean, it's funny because uh, I think, especially in this um, highly organized religion-based society,
Mhm, mhm.
that people are really attached to the idea of retribution and punishment and
Yeah, judgment.
judgment, and God will get his vengeance and those kind of things. And none of that ever rang true for me. But
Mhm,
I'm as we have this discussion, I'm compelled by the idea that they say, as you raise your vibration, right? Be
mhm,
careful what you wish for, be careful what you put out into the universe, because what happens is that the reactions happen faster than they may
mhm,
have in the past. For example, I've always been convinced that as I started doing this work and started really shedding, all of those crazy ideas about karma and revenge and, all of that, that I was driving down the street near my house, and I had to go to the bathroom. And there was a left turn, it was a left turn, but it was right on top of a right turn lane. So it was go straight, or in the right turn lane, turn right,
mhm.
which is only legal for turning right. But I used it as a bypass, like I have seen hundreds of people do every time I've been on that street, all the time, right?
Right. Yep.
What happens to Angie?
Uh-oh.
Angie gets a ticket. Angie gets pulled over and gets a ticket. And I thought to myself, wow, all right then. Does that mean I really need to pay attention and walk the straight and narrow? Is it coming back to get me that quickly?
Hmm.
So maybe is karma just more of an internal system of checks and balances, where what you put out into the world comes back to you? And if you are walking in your purpose, you are less likely to put things out there that will create a negative response.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think one of the key points of it though is that um, the universe does have your back, right?
Absolutely.
So if people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to get docked for this one," no, actually, the universe wants you to participate in your divine purpose, and the only reason you would get quote docked for something is by willfully ignoring, the signs that you're of what you're supposed to be participating in.
Or perhaps because you believe you're going to get docked for it.
Yeah, that. Mhm.
I mean, you see, you hear people all the time talking about, oh, it's going so well. Everything is going so well. So I'm just really expecting the other shoe to fall,
That right.
you
That
know?
right there. That's the that's that um as you reap so as you sow
Right,
so.
right. Or and I remember having this conversation with somebody one time. It was she was always saying, I always lower my expectations, that way I'm never disappointed. And I said, no,
Mm,
raise your expectations,
yep.
right? Raise your expectations, and then those that disappoint will just weed themselves out,
Hmm.
right? And she reached back out to me, I don't know, a month and a half later, and she said, you can't believe the difference.
No way.
Just that shift in thinking, you can't believe the difference of what comes my way now
Oh,
compared to, you
that's
know,
awesome.
right? So expect it and it will come to you. So is that also a cycle of karma? I mean,
I
is
think it
it,
is.
I think karma maybe is perhaps whatever it means to you, right? Like, because then there's that whole other thing where you see some people, and we don't name those kind of names around here, but some people, very obvious people out there, that you can see in the news or whatever, uh, steamrolling over other people and, just doing terrible things and, climbing to the top. Like, so where's their karma? You know what I mean? Like, what are they?
Yeah.
Are they immune, or what's the deal with that? Right? Like,
Well, okay, if we take the bad habit thing, let's say they've created a bad habit of biting their nails and kicking people that are lower than them, right? If it's not in this lifetime, if it's the next time around, that karma is going to come back, and they've got to do some extra. I think they're going to have to. Here it is. Whatever their divine purpose is, clearly they didn't follow their divine purpose in that previous life. You're going to have to follow your divine purpose in the current life to get out of that bad karma.
but they don't appear to be affected by bad karma, right? I mean, think about some of what you're seeing here. People coming out smelling like a rose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's an interesting. It's
Again, though, that's judgment, though, right? You and I, as humans, want to see that judged. Basically, we want judgment. But maybe the universe is like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
maybe, maybe.
I mean, if there were ever, yeah, politics and people that we see, crushing the smaller ones, that gets my blood boiling. And I want to see justice for that person. I want to see that person I want to see justice. I want to see judgment on that. And again, I think the universe answer is karma's karma. Don't worry. Don't you concern with judgment. I'll take care of it. That is the universe.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Okay. So for one thing, I personally don't really worry about it. I just wonder about it,
Yeah,
which
okay. All
I
right.
think
Fair
is
enough.
interesting. But I also see, here's the other thing, because of the way that I believe, I just don't believe that what we do here has an impact on what happens to us on the other side. So if I'm really going to take some comfort in the idea that somebody can't get away with something of that
Yeah.
nature,
Yep.
right? I know it shows up in the next lifetime, right?
Yep.
I do know that it does, because I work with people that are clearing energetic patterns from lifetimes past. So, in the Akashic work that I do.
Yeah.
So,
Let's talk about that, because I think that directly interacts with what karma is, right? If you end up clearing something that someone has from a past life, isn't that fixing a bad karma?
I mean, I think so. I guess it just really depends on what is your definition, or what do you actually think karma is,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. So just describe a little bit. So give me an example of, say, someone who had something bad happen and you had to clear it in order to get them moving forward in this lifetime.
well, okay, so I'm trying to I tend to work with people who have uh on the other side, so are the oppressed rather than the oppressor.
Okay.
So let me run through my database and see.
Yeah.
Um
I tend to resonate more with the oppressed than the oppressors in myself.
Yeah, right, and I mean, it would make sense that I would
Yep.
attract that, right, rather than, and I also can't help but wonder, uh, it okay, well, no, actually, I did work with a real interesting cat that had a really, really good ability to be able to, like, go and visit those places for himself. Now, he had kind of a God-fearing filter, so, the way he connected to the energy and interpreted it could have an effect on what he felt like, he was seeing, but he really, based on the stories he told, being, a dictator and an oppressor and, the axe guy. The axe guy.
Oh,
What do they call those guys?
executioner.
Yeah, that. Um, so the struggles that he had in this current life, which were significant, starting out by being abused as a child,
Mm,
um, he really, really firmly believed in the idea of retribution and paying for your
paying
actions.
for
So
past sins. Yeah.
he really believed that those things really were the reason that he was put into this lifetime and abused as a child, and
Mm,
so he was an interesting guy because a lot of what he thought was not what I thought, but he was
mhm,
always willing to listen to what I would say, and I would
uh-huh.
listen to what he would say, and sometimes we could come to a meeting of the minds, and sometimes we just couldn't,
Right.
and it was okay. Um,
Were
I
you
I
able to clear?
Oh, yeah,
Those?
we cleared a lot of energy for him. We
Sweet.
cleared a lot of those things, but I I mean, he was kind of stuck here, and now he's moved on to a place that he really wanted to be, in a state that he really wanted to be in a
Mhm.
home that he really wanted to be in. So, did I have an impact on that? Maybe. I
Yeah.
don't,
Yep.
I don't. I believe we're the sum total of our own actions, and
Mhm.
I'm just here to help you see blind spots. But I think that more than anything in a conversation about karma, um, I would really say there's a lot of fear consciousness around it. I shouldn't do this because, you know, o- or or the bargains people make with God, right? If you don't take my husband, you can take me instead, or if you don't do this,
Yeah.
I'll go to church every week, or those kind of things. And I think that's sad because I think it's disempowering for people. So
And I think it's all ego mind stuff. It isn't really spiritual.
no, right, it's not.
Like,
So
here, God, I'll do this if you'll do that. Transaction complete. It doesn't work like that.
no, it doesn't, and I don't believe that. And whatever God, God, Buddha,
Mhm.
uh,
Higher
the
power.
universe, higher power, whatever. I don't believe there's any vengeance in that entity,
I
or
don't either.
if it even is an entity itself, like a
Yep.
singular entity. That's a human
It
construct,
is very much
you
so.
know. So I don't know. I guess I would like to see people. I think there's people who say and don't get me wrong, the effects of karma are real.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
And I mean, I remember I used to walk around when I was younger, like, oh my God, was I Lucretia Borgia or something in a past life? Like the way things would happen sometimes, it would just be like a comedy almost. Like, what did I do in a past life to be, you know,
To get this.
to get this? And then it turned out that all of that fell away when I started connecting with my own higher wisdom, when I started getting empowered in a way that allowed me to, connect with the work that I'm meant to do. So sometimes I wonder if we should just kick that word to the curb. Like, is it even important in this journey?
Mhm. Yep.
Is it one of those things that literally could just take care of itself?
Yeah. Well, I think if people misinterpret it as as judgment based on past sins, I think then we should definitely nix it, because
And I
that's
think a
not
lot of people, that's what they do. And I think that a lot of people, first of all, I don't believe in sin. Like, I just don't. I don't believe in that concept. Also, a religious construct.
Mhm.
And man, you should see my friend who was brought up Catholic. Whoa, when I say that, she looks at me like,
Yeah, I know.
but I just don't believe in a pile of checks and balances, or a demerit
Right. Who's
system,
keeping
or
score? Keeping score, that's the
exactly,
yes.
that's it. You got it. Keeping
Yep.
score. Is there somebody, I mean, I think it's important that we keep score for ourselves, right? I think it's important that we keep our score for ourselves. So, in other words, I think we should really aspire
Mhm.
to treat people well, and to be, to be good citizens,
Mhm.
of the
Yep.
world, not just
Kindness,
of the country, but
love.
of the
Yep.
world, right? So I don't know. I mean,
Right. But if you're I think so I think the key is this. You keep your own score. Don't try and keep someone else's score.
there you go.
I think
Right?
that's where people really get off the rails. Um, Again, it has to do with judgment, right? If I'm keeping track of someone else's mistakes or missteps, that right there is almost the definition of judgment, right? And I think that is not our role. And I think that totally goes against what what our purpose here is.
I agree. And here's the truth. Um, Even some of the most egregious people that are in the public eye at this moment, I work hard to find compassion for them rather than just sitting in judgment. Now, does that
Yep.
mean I don't think they're dangerous? No. Does it mean
Prefer
I
not to have them on your TV screen.
right, exactly. But when you can learn a little bit about a person's story and you can find some compassion for them, that's got nothing to do with them. That's got
Right.
everything to do with you, right?
Right.
Like, I
Yes.
mean, I know people who are so afraid of what's going on right now, and all they do is continue with the news and taking it in and watching, and it's
Mhm.
like it's just not
Super low
good for
energy,
you.
low vibration.
Yeah. So, um, take a minute and try to find compassion for anyone who has rubbed you the wrong way.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the whole that whole conversation, we've had with my father, and it's interesting that things with my father just keep coming up.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Oh,
I've
yeah,
made
that's right.
peace.
You mentioned, yep.
I've made peace with, I've made peace with why he was the way he was and why he was an alcoholic, and nobody talked about PTSD right out of World War II.
Right.
And then these little things when I'm working on this or that, it's work I mean, really working on how to meet people where they are, and realizing that it was because I was always called, you're dumb or you're this, which again, you and I both know I'm not. But um so now let's move with that, just because this is really interesting, into just this little thing. This Have you seen any of these ads or any of these commercials for Jamie Kern Lima in this book that she's got out, Worthy?
Worthy. I've seen the title. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so I think this is really interesting, and I wonder if, we're talking about karma, if we're not looking at, you know, if this doesn't come into play. So, she is a self-made woman. She created this brand called It Cosmetics, which sold for, I don't know, $1.5 billion to L'Oreal. And so that was her, that was her thing, self-made woman. So, but now she's written this book called Worthy, and I find this concept fascinating, and this is all you need to know right now in the conversation about it. I actually had a credit on Audible, so I got it, on
Okay.
Audible. I'm going to listen to it maybe. if I remember. I still got the Bonds book to listen to too, but listen
Really?
to this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know. Yeah, because he read it himself. I love it. But
Oh,
anyway,
cool.
yeah. Anyway, listen to this. So you have self-confidence, right? But then you have self-worth. And in her mind, it's two different things. Now, think about this for a second. Self-confidence is about what you do. This is how she put it.
Hmm.
Self-confidence is about what you do. It is what allows you to build the house that you're building. Self-worth is the foundation. So you can have all the self-confidence in the world, but if you don't have the concept of your inherent worth, it doesn't have a solid foundation to sit on.
I like
And
that.
that's, I know, right?
Yep, I like that a lot. I know plenty of people who are self-confident to the point of being cocky
Hmm.
and who shouldn't be because
Right.
they're, scammers is not the right word, but they'd make a good used car salesman, basically.
Yeah, right. You know
Very
how we all know
self-confident.
how Angie feels about used car salesmen, okay? But no, but you're right though. But when you look at them, I mean, I think there's a couple really big ones out there right now that you would have to you'd have to wonder.
What do they
I
what
mean,
is how do they feel about their self-worth?
what is their idea of self-worth? Because I think that if you I think it's easy to pick out. I
Yeah.
think if you really sit and think about this conversation, I think and you look around the world, I think it's easy to pick out who has a sense of their own worth and who doesn't.
Hmm.
Who has a sense of their own worth and who doesn't. So now, if you don't have a sense of your own worth and you're now that person that says things are really good, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall. Does your self-worth and your self confidence, actually, by extension, have an impact on your karma?
Certainly you're putting out low energy, right?
Yeah,
You're putting
right.
out low energy of saying things are good, but I know they're going to turn bad, and you're bringing in more energy of like things should turn bad, things should turn bad. Does that affect your karma?
I mean,
I think
if
it's the other way
karma is
around. It's
simply
your
a,
karma affecting you.
oh,
You've
I
got a
don't know.
it's a bad habit. You're biting your nails. You've got a bad habit of biting your nails and um, dismissing your own worth.
Or is it your worth that causes you to bite your nails? Your self worth that causes.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's one way or the other. I think it's a cycle, and that's what
Yeah.
karma
True.
is a cycle, right? What you
True.
put out comes back. What you put out comes back. What
Yep.
it's a cycle. So I think that it's part of that cycle, and I think that this is just what I think. I think that people who have a better sense of their own self worth have an easier time in life. They just
Yeah.
do.
Boundaries,
Yeah, right.
right? If you know,
Boundaries is one of them, but I mean, here's buzzwords right now, right? In the masterminds and all over the place. Here's buzzwords. Imposter syndrome,
sure.
right?
Yep.
Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is 100% based on the idea of your self-worth. It's got
Yep.
nothing to do with confidence. It's got everything to do with worth.
Yep.
And the idea that you might have that why am I worthy to tell people this or that or
Hmm. Yep. Yep. No, I agree. That's a totally a self-worth thing.
so I don't know. I, yeah, I don't know. I sometimes the idea of karma rubs me the wrong way, and then there's in the soul realignment structure, there's negative unjustified karma.
I remember just reading a book on that, um, and remind me how it came to be and why it was determined to be unjustified.
Well, according to her, It was
It's like it's something
okay.
you didn't
So
do. It's
no, in the soul realignment world, there are soul groups, and the soul groups are from different places. Polaris, Mintaka, which is in Orion, um, Syria, Sirius, like, so there's soul groups that come from different
yep.
parts of the
Okay.
galaxy,
All right.
okay? And so the idea of this negative unjustified karma was that there was a race of beings. Is it the Pleiadians? Or were the Pleiadians the ones that accepted the karma? I think the Pleiadians were the ones that accepted the karma. There was a race, okay, I think if I remember the story right, and I could be wrong, so don't quote me or write a book on it based on this, okay? But you'll get the general idea. We'll say it was the Pleiadians whose home planet was destroyed, and they went and lived on the planet of another race of beings,
Yep.
right?
Okay. So far, so good.
And but the race of beings was a warrior race,
Okay. Sure.
a negative race, an aggressive race, a warrior race.
Yep.
Not, I mean, warrior. You see where I'm going with
Sure.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So they carried a lot of negative karma based on their actions, right? Because they rape, pillage,
Yep.
whatever words you want to use, like that. And if I remember right, and I could be not quite right about how I'm remembering it, but it was basically like, okay, so these people, the Pleiadians, have nowhere to go. So they come to this planet of this warring race and they stay on this planet, but they agree to accept the negative karma of this race in exchange for
For a place
staying on
to
this
stay.
planet, for shelter, right? Which,
Bad idea.
yeah, well, I mean,
What else
but
can
they
you
had
do about
nowhere
it?
else to go,
Right.
right? So, and it's really interesting. So now, if a person presents with negative unjustified karma, it is that kind of an idea. Like
Got it.
they
It was an
accepted this,
exchange.
right? They accepted it because they just didn't have any choice. And it's really interesting because wow, all of a sudden they're all wound up. Um, it's really interesting because in the Akashic work, when you go and you find some kind of pattern of energy in somebody's Akashic record, and you go, it's 15 lifetimes ago, or 18, or 20, or even more, and you do a little math and you think of how long ago that actually is. People did a lot of things back then to survive that they
Hmm.
don't have to do now. People, like, uh people have, there are vows to God that need to get cleared, vows to a God, to someone presenting themselves as
Yep.
God.
Contracts.
And why is this a negative choice that stays as a pattern from lifetime to lifetime? Because they stayed even when they found out that this was a negative organization, right? But at the time, they had nowhere else to go, or
Hmm.
they had no other choice. You couldn't leave, very much like that one group with all the actors in it right now. Okay, I didn't actually say that, did I? You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, oh God, I didn't really mean that, okay? but but very much like, they they stayed because they needed shelter. They had families. Their families were taken care of. They were taken care of. That there was nowhere else to go. It's not like now where you could, well, I'll just get in my car and drive to another state and get a job as a waitress and make myself a new life.
Right.
You can't do that. You couldn't do that then. Although I imagine that's considerably harder now than it was, say, in the 70s or the
Yeah,
80s.
you're probably right. But still, it's doable. You can
But
start
right,
over here.
right, start over. So I mean, so you have like the human idea of karma, right? And then
Hmm.
you've got the energetic idea of karma. Maybe they're not quite the same thing.
Right. I don't think they are.
And but they both have an effect or an impact on the human being, right?
Sure.
It's one of those things. I just think, I think it's funny when people walk around, karma's a,
Karma's a bee.
yeah, right. And I mean, there's something very human about the idea of wanting to see it happen.
Yeah. Again, that's the desire for justice, whether it's judgment
Yeah,
or,
right.
but that's a
Or
human
or whatever
construct.
and that's whatever your own idea of
Yep.
justice is.
Yep.
You know, I mean, when I will not forget. eh, I'll not forget. I was driving in a whiteout. I needed to go downstate Illinois. In a whiteout. It was a whiteout. I was driving in snow that was probably 4 inches deep, and I will never forget this. I guess it was a guy. I'm driving like 20 miles an hour. The snow was 4 inches deep. Like,
Yep.
and I'm from Chicago. I can drive in the snow, but
Yeah,
the
we know
snow
how to
was
do it.
4 inches deep, right? Like,
You gotta. Yep.
but this guy went flying by. Like you couldn't even see the lanes. You didn't know where you were. You didn't even really know if you were actually on the
On the
road. I
road.
mean,
Yeah, I know.
it was just crazy. And I didn't have a choice. I don't ordinarily go out, in that kind of weather. But this guy went flying by. I mean, and who knows? He was probably going 40 or something. But flying, when
Right.
compared to 20, right?
Yep.
And maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles down the road, where do I see him?
In the
Nose
ditch.
down in the ditch. And I think, oh, karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing that you think when you see something like that.
Yep.
So, are we a little bit programmed? Maybe.
Yeah. I think that could be better said. As you sow, so shall you reap.
Yeah, right.
Right?
But is that the same thing?
Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
same thing? No, I don't think it is. I
Yeah.
think, at least according to this article and what we've kind of been talking, the energetic idea is a lot. It's more subtle. I think it's more subtle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know who wrote the article, so I don't actually know if I agree with those people or I don't. So,
I'll
and you,
I'll I'll tell you, it's Deepak Chopra. So I tend to agree with him, although he does tend to get a little too technical at some point.
okay, yeah. I don't. I mean, I'll give him that I agree with him most of the time.
Yeah. He has a bullet point list here, and he says, okay, karma fits into these larger principles. I'll state the principles of the bigger picture of energy, and he has a bulleted list that I kind of like. Let me read it for you, and I don't know if we have time after that, but here's
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
says.
We don't have a lot of time, but
Okay,
we'll go for it.
here's the bullet points. He says, and this is the overall bigger picture view of karma. Existence is on your side, or as I said, the universe has your back. Invisible forces support your evolution. The
Mhm.
light of awareness can heal, like that one.
Truth.
Infinite possibilities exist in consciousness, I like that. Bliss consciousness lies at the core of existence. Here's the good one. There is inherent meaning in your life, and your worth is infinite.
Well, see, so he even brought it up. I mean, I
Your worth.
said
Yep,
I said your worth.
you're right. You're right. Now that I see that, that connects directly with what you just said. That's really
Yeah, right.
interesting.
Well, see that? I mean, I guess the whole idea it should be this, right? Is do the best you can with what you have. Try to be careful about what you put out into the world.
And always be seeking a higher energy.
Right. And let other people worry about themselves.
Right. You do you.
That's it, right? You do you. I mean that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, that was good. I can't believe that the whole time went by already. Like,
That's
I mean, we do
this is
try to
good
keep it
stuff.
to
This is really
40
good
minutes,
stuff.
but this was really good. So next week, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about stuff that's irritating me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you, they're just things that are irritating me. Crystals and people and what is going on.
That's
Yeah,
a you know what? That might be a really good and the overall top is going to be how people's ego mind is affecting how they see the spiritual world.
ain't that the truth?
Yep.
Ain't that the truth? Because I'm gonna take the parting shot just because I can,
It's
because
your show.
it's my show, right? if a crystal is a rock, if it falls and it breaks, now you have two crystals. That's all.
That's all.
It doesn't mean it's finished its purpose. It doesn't mean its energy is used up. The energy of a crystal is not subject to, what is the word?
Entropy.
Entropy. Yes. The energy of a crystal is not subject to entropy. Human energy is subject to entropy. So it's us that's falling apart, not the rock. The rock is what it is.
Wow, that's really brilliant. I like that a lot.
That's Hibiscus Moon, the science teacher.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, but anyway, they're beautiful,
That's a
amazing.
nice one.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Wow.
I got it. It came from India, actually.
Okay.
Took a long time to get it. It was on Etsy. But anyway, it's a rock. Now, does that mean that it doesn't have a vibration that I can work with or meditate with or whatever? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is it's a rock. It doesn't have, well, I hate to say it doesn't have consciousness because they do talk to me, but
The
but
point
they
is that
don't.
if you drop it and break it, it doesn't matter.
Right. And you don't need to bury it. Oh man, I'm using up all the good stuff for next week's show. So forget it. This is my new rock, one of them. This is another one. And this is my Daruma because it still only has one eye. I haven't finished everything. And then this is my yellow opal.
The googly-eyed one.
Yes. I mean, because why not? I love googly eyes. I have a whole box of them.
Awesome.
Anyway, okay, so that's what we got for today. We had a couple of people, I think, that stayed on and listened through the whole show. So
Yep.
we
Everybody,
really want to
thanks for
thank you
listening.
for doing that. Yes, thank you so much. I know one of them is one of my fans, shall we say?
Sweet.
But we really, really appreciate you listening and sticking around. And like I said, if you haven't yet, please either pop over to YouTube, or if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell, that notify me bell. So that's it for today. But next week we'll talk about
things that irritate Angie. And
yeah,
me.
things that, I'm sure that you can come up with a few.
Oh, you bet.
So anyway, so that's that. So we will talk to you soon, but we'll see you in a few minutes for
Tarot time.
Tarot time. So bye everybody.